Jesus is Lord and he's coming back. I'm back with the Trustee Ape. How's it going? The Trustee Ape is here. We're ready to start. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Okay.
How are you doing, Joe?
Oh, never had a bad day in my life. Glad you can join me. Thanks for everyone. Thanks everyone for joining us and watching. Um, the topic is what is an ape? So I was asked this question in an atheist room or in a room full of atheists, no Christians allowed, and they didn't like my answer. They didn't like my answer, and you tagged me in a video or in a clip of that. I want to play that clip for everyone so that they have some context as to what we're going to be discussing today. Um, Let me give some
Excellent.
shout outs first. All right. P Town, how's it going? Brother P Town is in the chat. He said, I always thought Trustee's picture was a giraffe. Is that no, that's not a giraffe, is it? That's not a
No,
giraffe, right?
they're generally eight faces. This is a new one. Silverwolf did for me. Just finished today. So
That's a what type of an ape is that?
I'd
Is that
say
a
it's something close to a chimp. Yeah, yeah, it
okay?
looks like a chimp. My
Chimp.
my other one I think is closer to a gorilla. Yeah.
All right, brother Doki Doki, how's it going? Doki Doki is in the house. He's giving his own shout outs. Paul Kamish, how's it going, Paul? Cryptomera. Gaming, what's going on? Gaming with the Silver Wolf. How's it going? And the Christian Carpenter is here. How's it going, Christian Carpenter? Oh, and I am your death, Jay. Oh boy, he says DNA. I guess I guess his taxonomy is based on DNA. That's what we're going to be talking about today. What is an ape? What is taxonomy? It's the trustees ape. Uh, Comment. Spooky, how's it going, Spooky? Spooky is in the comment section as well. Angel Fiber. I've never seen you before. You must be one of trustees um, comrades.
I don't know Angel Fiber by name either, but yeah.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
for the first time.
All right. Well, glad you can make it, Angel. Angel Fiber. Let's see who else. I think that's all. If I missed you, Spooky. I don't think I missed you, but Spooky has his popcorn ready. Okay. All right. So here's the video that you clipped, and we're gonna watch it, and then just have a little a discussion. How much time do you have?
Oh, I can go for a while. It was an
Okay.
hour.
All right. So the title of this video is "What is not an ape?" So I answer that question to your satisfaction? Well, let's watch the
No, to
video.
be fair, I don't think you got the opportunity. So yeah.
Oh yeah, of course not. It's an atheist echo chamber. So when I come in, the mute button is basically 10 times larger than what it normally is. All right. The mute button and the put backstage button, all those buttons become 10 times larger. Sort of like the Trump affidavit or indictment. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here and I'm going to play this video. What is not an ape? And then you had another video entitled What is an ape? So you had two. You had what is not an ape and what is an ape. Okay, go.
I've got a question for Joe. Joe,
Not like a science.
Okay, Joe, what isn't an ape?
Whatever characteristics we say do not belong to a category is not an ape. It's
a
taxonomy.
creature not created in the image of God is an ape.
It's taxonomy. It's not science. You can call it an ape. You can label
I'm
it
using
an ape.
I'm using your
You can label anything you
Wait
want.
a second, isn't God an ape then? Because God wasn't created in the image of God.
That's true.
That wasn't created, so.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Created at all. So. He's not in either category, actually.
Ladies and gentlemen, sunk the battleship.
So
You
all
worked up an
taxonomy
ape.
is still. All taxonomy is just organizing animals based on whatever characteristics you want to use.
Joe, what's your name?
You can make up your own taxonomy if you like.
So I want to make sure, like,
you can organize animals based off of their color.
Okay.
Okay.
So in this one, I would say the most significant thing I think that I heard you say there a couple of times is taxonomy is not a science, right? It is not in itself an applied science, right? It is a discipline, a branch of science in which they take other scientific findings and then categorize them, as you said, right? So we are taking characteristics or traits in various species and then categorizing them together by those traits, right? And I don't see what the discrepancy is there. Like, why is that a problem?
I don't know, and that's why I invited you on, because I said that, and it was sort of like I know when I say things like, biblical slavery doesn't exist. I'm doing that for a reason, right? I'm trying to draw you in. It's sort of what CNN does, right? It's a headliner, right? So it's meant to it's meant to get your attention. So, but what you just said is exactly what I explained when I was pressed on that. That I'm not saying that what you're doing, you're observing characteristics. That's science. That's part of the scientific method. We all learned that in the 5th grade. But what I'm saying is that your taxonomy and how you decide to categorize, say, X animal is no more scientific than someone else's if they decided to use a different set of criteria. That was the gist of my argument. Does that make sense to you?
Okay, yeah, but I think, I mean, not to apply or appeal to the argument of the majority, but it would say that if there's a consensus about what most of us observe, why would I believe something other than the consensus?
Well, both are observing the same set of characteristics. There are 100, let's say there are 100 characteristics. I can decide that I'm going to emphasize, and you have animal X, you have animal Y. I can decide that I'm going to take these 10 characteristics, and this will be what I use to compare these animals or put them in, say, X category or Z category. And then someone else can take a different set of characteristics. So no one is denying anyone's science. No one is denying the fact that the ape has a thumb, or the ape has an extra finger or index, or what we would call a thumb. No one's denying that. But you're using that as one of your criteria to say that because these two animals have the same characteristic, they're in this category of quote unquote ape. I can take
Okay, well, I would say
right.
ape
Does
in
that
that
make sense?
sense. I take ape to be a general term we're using to describe creatures that are similar to ourselves, right?
Right.
That doesn't necessarily, like, so we have that list of traits, like you said, you can take any 10 traits, but we have a very specific set of traits that we share in common with these other species, and we kind of lump these species all together and call them apes, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we
So
do.
why do you think that is a mistake?
Say that again.
Why do you believe that's a mistake?
No, I never claimed that anyone taxonomy is a mistake. Actually, it's the opposite. Atheists look at Moses's taxonomy and they say that's a mistake. We don't do that with your taxonomy. In fact, the person that created, or at least the modern version of what we call taxonomy was a Christian. So we don't have a problem with organizing animals based off of selected characteristics. Moses did it, and now we're doing it much more sophisticated, of course. But Moses wasn't any more correct than Carl Linnaeus was. That's the argument.
But okay, so I guess what this boils down to is if we believe the scripture that says that God created man and the other animals separately, then we cannot possibly have evolved from similar lineage. Is where this would go, right?
Well, I think you're going into another topic, I'm sure. But yeah, we would argue that God created human beings, and there's another video I'm going to play from your channel, which
Yeah,
speaks on
you can
speak.
go into
Yeah,
that. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on where you're coming from with the argument, because yeah,
yeah.
I mean I do feel it wasn't really completed before. So okay, so I don't want to feign ignorance here. I don't know a lot about biblical taxonomy or the taxonomy of Moses. I mean, is there a way you could kind of briefly tell me, synopsize that, like what the major difference is?
Well, the one of the more favorite uh, passages to pick on is where Moses calls bats birds. Have you heard that? I'm sure you've heard this so-called contradiction.
Yeah, I think I've heard of this before.
Okay, so Moses, in his taxonomy, his criteria is simply if you have wings. That's his criteria. That's it. Again, he's observing animal X has wings. He observes animal A through C or through Z has wings. So therefore, he's putting all of those animals who have wings in the same category as winged animals. So that's his taxonomy. He was not wrong because he observed correctly. These animals do have wings. Now, had he observed incorrectly and saw and put an animal there that didn't have wings, then you could say his taxonomy was wrong. But based on the criteria that he starts with, he gets to determine which characteristics, which one of the 100 characteristics that he is using in order to categorize the animals. Does that make sense?
Right. So he's not incorrect in the fact that he's categorizing them as having wings, but he's just lacking specificity in what type of winged creature there is.
Exactly. Right. So it's not a sophisticated taxonomy, but it's not wrong. So we don't say that your taxonomy is wrong. When you say that humans are apes, we don't say that because we understand that you're saying that because you're comparing certain parts, homologous features, same structures on different beings. I think that's the definition. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're using that, and you're selecting certain characteristics, and that's how you're able to categorize. Both have thumbs,
Right.
right?
But
So
once again, I think
that's all
we're being a
Moses did.
little more specific here, though, in saying we come from a family of apes, right? Whereas bats and birds clearly have a different lineage. They have that similar trait. Like, so we don't say that all things with hands are apes. And I was watching something interesting on this earlier because so many people conflate monkeys with apes, and monkeys are clearly different creatures. They have tails. They're smaller. There's very distinctive differences that we're making those differentiations there. So we're getting more specific to the structure and type of the creature when we differentiate a monkey from an ape type, right? Um, so I think that's an important distinction to make if we're going to be categorizing things.
Right. Um, so there are different types of taxonomy. Is that right?
Well, no, this is all part of one tax taxonomic structure, right? I think I mispronounced that. But yeah,
Taxonomic.
I mean, right. But there are different fields of study. There's specific human taxonomy. There's, for any living organism you can think of, there's a specific subfield for that group. So it's not like one person came and designed the whole tree, right? There's teams of people on each individual group that are compiling and organizing that data.
Okay, so there are people together coming together from all disciplines, bioevolutionists. Um, is that what you're saying? Is that what?
Correct. Yeah. And then there are specialists within the field.
Okay. Well,
But
what's the
yeah,
difference between? Um, I was always under the. And you're the expert here, so I'm the student in this case in this stream. So I'm the student in this stream, guys. So I was always under the understanding that there are different types of taxonomies. One being like an artificial type of um, type of where it's based off of just what we can observe.
well, there's a group that is
Go
there's a
ahead. I'm
group
sorry.
that's purely observational. No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I thought you were, but I get what you're saying. There's a group that's purely observational. They're compiling data that is known, that is fact, that is canon, if you will, right? So there's one group that is compiling that data, and then there's another group that's kind of in the hypothetical sphere, the theoretical sphere, that are trying to weave together the other pieces, and those are part of scientific theory, and those kind of all weave into the web. But the majority of it is made up of things that we know for certain about the species that exist today, and obviously, like paleontological and archaeological records, and so they go through great effort to compile all this information into one kind of congruent piece, something that we can look at as a source of, okay, we went from point A to point B to point C to wherever we are now, right, on this line. Just like the compilation of history. I mean, I think it's a grandiose statement to say that all of the people who have gone through the effort to compile all of known history would um, would have either falsified or or in some fashion have completely disoriented the information available to us to such a great extent that we can't say that we have some reasonable record of what's happened. And I think it's the same thing with taxonomy. It's like we wouldn't have all of these people working in these fields and subfields just to compile information to get it all wrong. Like that doesn't make very much sense to me.
Well, yeah. I don't believe that any taxonomy is wrong unless you determine that the category X is supposed to have blue eyes. Every animal is supposed to have blue eyes, and I find out there's a blonde or a brown-eyed animal there. Then I would say your taxonomy is wrong. I don't attack any taxonomy because I understand what taxonomy is, as you explained. Um, so I think the heat is coming from you guys onto Moses, is what I'm getting at. Do you see that? Do you now see that that's a wrong approach as far as the Bible contradicting just because Moses's taxonomy was based on different criteria? So you can't say that
Well,
he was wrong.
I would say that
Right.
that taxonomy would be less complete than what we have now.
Okay.
I don't know why we trust a less complete taxonomy.
Well, it wasn't designed for us to trust it. It was just something Moses did as far as the animals were concerned, and it's not settled I don't think we can discover something tomorrow that can change your what do you call it, phylogenetic. We can discover something different about this animal or that animal that will put it in a different category. And then you have situations in which, not that it's wrong, but you do have situations in which your genetic trees, what's the term Aaron Ra likes to use? Phylogenetic, is that what it's called?
Phylogenetics, yes.
Phylogen, right. You have situations in which your trees that are just based on that criteria alone, or at least it's primary. That's the primary criterion, right? DNA. You have
Well,
molecular
yeah.
trees that
So you have the multiple categories, though. That's why it is so comprehensive, because you have the phylum, the genus. There's every subcategory you could think of that makes it. That's what makes the ape as a generalization, but it's also a generalization for something pretty specific, right? And I think the term ape predates the categories we have now. We just kind of, it's a holdover, right? But it's very specific to primates, um, and hominidae. And if I'm mispronouncing any of these terms, because I'm not really an expert, I like to read a lot of this stuff. But um, but yeah, that's basically what it is. I mean, there's a very specific subgroup that we exist in, and we're kind of a rare species. And most of our
yeah,
species has
sure.
gone extinct, which is why this is such a kind of, interesting thing to document about ourselves.
You think so? Okay, all right. What I was saying, what I was going to say was is that it appears to me that the molecular evidence, some of it at least, with some animals like um, hippos, it seems to me that there is not a contradiction, but there appears to be that there's odds with the fossil evidence. So, which one do you hold to as the grand poobah? Like, is it the phylogenetic similarities or the molecular similarities? Is that primary, and then we go to the fossil record, or is it both, or are both disciplines used converged to come to that conclusion? Or it seems to me that that they're at odds. Fossil similarities point to hippos as like a cousin of a pig. Is that right? Like what we would call a cousin.
Uh, it sounds correct. I don't know enough about that specific case. I would
Okay.
say the fossil record really only goes so far,
Right.
and it points to one specific um, structural um, difference between, but the simple fact of having a structural difference doesn't necessarily mean that it's genetically incompatible, right? So you have creatures like ourselves in the ape category once again, but we're compared to other creatures much smaller than ourselves who are still considered to be large primates, right? So there's a difference between large and small primates, but that gap is pretty wide. So you could be anywhere from 3 pounds to 300 pounds, and that goes for a human baby. So, you know, it's like, so, the rate of growth and all those different things that go into bone structure. I don't think we can tell anything definitively from a fossil record. I think it's just one indicator.
Okay. So
I
the
think genetics
molecular.
is probably, yeah, genetics is probably much more reliable if we have good
Right.
materials to work with.
Okay. All right. Now that 3.5 baby is not human until it comes out of the womb. No, no, no. I'm trying to go to abortion. All right.
Oh, we'll do another one.
Here's the second video. Um, what is an ape? This is from your channel, and I'll put a link to your channel in the. Go subscribe to. Tell us, what do you do on your channel? Do you just talk about this type of stuff, or do you go into other subjects? Or
Oh yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit of variety these days. So yeah, I mean, we do these subjects: religion, politics, inappropriate dinner table conversation, and then I'm also trying to do some entertainment streams and stuff like that, and open rooms every week. So yeah.
Oh, you talk religion? Oh, you talk politics on your channel? Who are you voting for in
I don't know if
November?
I'm going to vote this year. I need to
That's
go
good.
back to focusing on dismantling the Constitution. That's kind of my primary focus right now. I've seen
Whoa.
some really good work from other people. Yeah, so it's inspiring. Yeah, I want to go back to that.
You want to go back to dismantle? All right, that's another stream. We'll have to discuss the
All right.
consequences of that type of. I'm gonna open up the room if you don't mind other people coming in. I'm gonna open up the room for everyone. If you're interested in coming in and having and talking about this issue or talking about what an ape is, for a Christian, we're not apes. We believe the distance between us and an ape is the distance of infinity because we're using different criteria to compare. And when we use that, because we get to decide what we want to compare, right? Just like you decided you wanted to compare thumbs, you wanted to compare other things like uh, you didn't compare the brain because our brain is much bigger than the apes, right? So you didn't use that as one of your criteria, right?
Well,
Trust.
but brain size and brain function are two different conversations to have. But certainly, a bigger brain may mean more intelligence. But
Mhm.
I still would say, I mean, if we look at the behavior of other modern apes and other primates in general, we all share a unique trait of being um, a hypersocial type of animal. In comparison to other creatures, we all have a heightened state of social awareness. I would say ours is just more advanced than theirs at this point.
Okay. All right. So we do both have we're both social creatures, right? Aren't all animals or all creatures social creatures though in some way?
I mean, animals act as collectives, but I don't think they have the same type of social hierarchies that we see in primates and apes specifically.
Right.
Um, that indicates a sense that they are cognizant of what they are participating in. That they can communicate uh, through various means, whether it be just physical posturing um, or vocal uh, type of communication. But we do typically see that in apes and not so much in other animals in such a sophisticated way.
Let's see. And also I read somewhere that it's the part of the brain you mentioned the different parts of the brain. Yeah, the ape has similar parts, but it is this what they call the cerebral cortex. If you were to and that plays a key role in what we would call awareness, right, or thought, right?
And in,
The
in that
human,
sense, though, we are the unusual species, right? We're
right,
the odd one out. We have that enlarged cortex that no other species has,
right.
which seems really special, but it could be considered a flaw if you were to say, well, this is the standard for everything else. But we have a flawed part of our brain that is enlarged. You
It
could
can
interpret it that
contain,
way.
right. Okay, it contains twice as many cells as the in that
Right.
same region in the chimp, right? Okay, but I would say that brain cells, um, the brain cells also behave differently between the two species in in that region. Now,
I don't know enough about brain science to say that. I don't. I don't
okay,
know. I can't. I can't confirm or deny.
okay, all right. Let's play the video. So a Christian would say that God is the first taxonomist. And when God created, he created two types of beings. He created beings that are made in his image, and then he created beings that are not made in his image. Okay, so we would say God is the first taxonomist, and he's the one who made the first organization of animals. And those are the only two categories, or the first two categories. And then there are categories within categories within categories. Welcome, Paul. Paul Kamish is here. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Can you hear me okay? I've got headphones in.
Yeah, we hear you just fine. You sound great.
Oh, brilliant.
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm at work at the moment. So sat at work, so I'll film my camera.
Okay. All right. Well, did you want to chime in and say anything, or what?
Uh,
Or do you have any
yeah,
comments about?
yeah. I understand what you're saying about the category of apes. We use our own different criteria to categorize different types of animals into different groups and subgroups. But it's not quite as simple as that. You mentioned about, I think, was it the bat that was categorized as a bird in Moses' time because it had wings and it could fly, so that was categorized as a bird kind.
I
Is
think
that
it was
correct?
just if it had wings. I
If
don't
it
know
had
if
wings, yeah.
flying was, yeah.
Yeah, so if it had wings, it was categorized as a bird, so therefore bats were categorized as birds. But it goes a bit deeper than that. It doesn't just stop at the way that it looks or certain characteristics that an animal has that puts it into a certain category. It also goes with its internal organs as well, because obviously the internal organs of a bat is it's the same as it is for mammals, because bats are mammals. Whereas with a bird, it would have different internal organs, so that would make that in a different category as a bird in today's understanding of it. Obviously, several thousand years ago, they didn't have the understanding that the difference between the internal organs in animals could also put them in the different categories. Now, you could see that somebody who said just lived in Europe and then had only ever seen birds in Europe, and then suddenly went down to Antarctica and saw penguins, would possibly not necessarily categorize a penguin as a bird, due to the fact that the only birds that they've seen are the European type birds, and a penguin looks completely different. So they could be forgiven for categorizing a penguin as not a bird and a different type of animal. I mean, they could even put it possibly in sort of like the seal type family rather than a bird family or a derivative of that type. I mean, they don't even have feathers like we understand birds having feathers. They can't fly. You can see the wings would never be capable for them to be able to fly. In fact, I don't even think the penguin's wings actually bend in the middle. They're completely straight, whereas bird wings, they do have like an elbow joint, whereas the penguin doesn't. So you could understand why that wouldn't be categorized as a bird, but obviously, due to the taxonomy we have at the moment and the understanding of the different types of feathers, it does have feathers. Its internal organs would be characteristics with a bird, so that would come under a bird category. I know I'm waffling on a bit here, but going back to the ape thing, I take it you've got a problem with humans being categorized as apes. And I don't know if you saw it, I put it in the comments that if you took the human out of the category of apes, would you be happy with all the rest of them, the category that we have of apes? Take the human out of it. Would you be happy with how they're all categorized?
Well, I don't really mind you categorizing whatever you want to categorize, because I don't think putting things in categories is quote unquote settles the taxonomy, or that is something that has to be the case for everyone and what they decide to emphasize. I can emphasize whatever characteristics I want and use that to put those animals in the same category. So it's
Can you
not.
can you
So
give
would you say that Moses was wrong for putting birds or bats in the category of bird? Would you say he was wrong? And why? Why
yes?
would you say he was wrong? Why?
But because he's only using one characteristic to put him into that category, which is the fact
Why is that wrong?
But because you don't just use one characteristics of an animal to put it into a category.
Who makes that rule?
Yeah,
well,
the
we do.
locomotion is probably the worst characteristic you can use.
Yeah, can I just finish? We use that category. We do, yeah.
William.
So wouldn't it make more sense to have several categories or several attributes to an animal to put it into a category rather than just one? So it comes under the mammal category due to the fact that it doesn't have feathers at all. It has fur. Mammals do. It's warm-blooded. Mammals are warm-blooded. Its internal organs correspond with what mammals have. Yes, it's got wings.
So Moses was wrong because he didn't have a scalpel. I got you. Well, welcome, William.
Well, only because he only used one category to put it into the bird category. He didn't use several, whereas we do now taxonomy. It isn't just one thing. It's several things that puts it into that category.
Okay, let's say he used several things, but none of those several things is any one of the criteria that you decided to use. Would he still be wrong?
Yes. Well, I mean, I know you're laughing. I know you're laughing, but would you put a bat in the category of a bird?
If the criteria alone was that they have wings, then yes.
Well, yes. Even if the only criteria was to have wings, then I would agree with that. But that isn't the only criteria we have.
That's the only criteria he used.
Yes, which would be the wrong one from today.
Well, no, it's not wrong. It's a taxonomy. A taxonomist is going to tell you what criteria he's using to make these categories. He should tell you.
Yes, right? And if you've got more, they've got to have more than one. They've got to have several of these different things that categorize you as a bird, an ape, or whatever. That makes it more comprehensive. That makes it more accurate rather than just using one criteria: wings, therefore birds.
So it makes it more accurate. So if there are 50 characteristics, right, and you decide to use 25 of those characteristics in your taxonomy, and I ignore those 25, and I decide to use another 25, am I wrong for using a different set of criterion? Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, but so you're not. It's the set. It's the particular set you're using, right? Like, say you were to put. Let me just hold on.
Hold on, Trustee. I'm not cutting you off. What I'm asking is, I'm just trying to be succinct. Who determines which criterion is supposed to be used in order to have the right taxonomy? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to try to be clear as to what
we've determined that through trial and error. Like we could say, any given number of species has eyeballs, right? But do they have the same field of vision? The same, like particular to primates, we have our eyes set in the front of our skulls. That's particular to us. That's not particular to all other land mammals, right? So then we have another very specific set of characteristics in which the eyes function in a certain way and are set in a certain place in the body, right? So like Paul's saying, it's a matter of just being way more specific about what we're describing here, rather than just wings or arms. Like, and that's all you get.
Okay. William, did you want to say something? Or?
No, I mean, after my reconversion yesterday, I thought I should at least show up to church.
William is now a Reformed believer, so he's here to. Well, this isn't going to be your first lesson in Reformed theology. Tulip, we'll start with total depravity. So we'll have that. I'll set that up another time with you, William. We'll have that.
Does that mean you want me to leave?
Oh no, you can stay. I don't kick people and mute people. That's what you guys do in your channels. Let's play
anyway, just a quick one. Like I say, I'm on my dinner break at the moment at work, so I'm going to jump out and I'll be watching on the side. I can't really stay in over long because I'm having my dinner. Yeah, no worries. I'll catch you all later. Cheers, then.
Did he say dinner? Did he say dinner break?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that means something different in the UK.
I know. It's just weird. All right, so here's the video what is an ape? Um,
So he's a giraffe. You can categorize.
oh, that voice.
Categorize animals how you wish. Doesn't matter. It's not science. So koala bears are apes. Doesn't matter. So Joe, you can put them in any category you want based on similarities, based on.
If I said that my criterion was fur, the apes don't have fur, do they? Apes have fur, right?
Apes have hair,
Hair.
like the hair of humans, but they have more of it. And humans used to have more hair, even in recorded history.
They're like Iranians on the beach.
Yeah.
Wait, did I say that out loud? I'm just.
So that
Okay,
was
well,
in my notes. I wanted to point that out. That humans historically have been hairier than we are now because we become accustomed to being clothed and shaving and things like that. So
okay. What are some of the similarities between apes and bears? If
well,
are there?
you can name a lot of similarities between apes and bears, but when we're looking at very specific similarities, um, so
They both shit in the woods.
Okay, so
they
that's
both
my
can.
criteria.
So bears, I think, even though they can walk on their hind legs, they tend to walk on four legs, but they do shift as well. Um, there's a difference in the structure of the skull itself and the jaws.
Now, of course, I wasn't
There's
saying.
a
Of course, I
difference
wasn't
in the
saying.
internal
Right. Of course, I wasn't saying that bears are um, apes. But
Also, even though bears have short tails, bears still have tails, unlike humans and most apes.
mm,
Yeah,
well,
and apes.
they're
Hey,
both highly they're
can
both
I quick?
highly evolved social animals, right? So can I put them in the same category? Just if I'm just using that as my criteria.
Well, if you only use that one criteria, but then you have to look at the dissimilarities because there are many dissimilarities.
Okay,
Hey,
so
Jill?
we're gonna
All
look at the similarities between humans and apes. That's what I plan on doing. What's going on, William?
I was gonna ask you if you could, like, 'cause I don't want to distract from what y'all are doing in here with this. I can listen from the outside, but I can't comment in the side chat since you blocked me. If you could unblock me, I'll go out and leave.
Oh,
So,
I didn't know.
huh?
No, I didn't block you. You're not blocked.
Somebody did. I can't comment in the. I tried to comment and it wouldn't let me.
what did
Oh,
you do,
Like
William?
it's not showing up. I don't know. I do a lot of things. I just wanted to say
um,
if because
yeah. Let me see if I can unblock you. Yeah. If you, I'll work on that. How do you do that?
shit, I don't know, man. I have no idea. I don't normally block people. I last time I
You have to.
blocked someone, I had to have Sparkle talk me through it, like
I'll
undoing it.
go to your channel, and if you say something in the chat, I guess I can do it from there. But yeah,
Okay, that's
I
cool.
didn't
I'll
know you
just
were
we'll work
blocked.
on it later. I couldn't
Okay.
say anything to the people out there, and so I could leave and go out there and let y'all talk though about this because y'all are pretty engaged.
Oh no, no, we welcome your opinion, your input. Okay, he left anyway. All right. So no, I wouldn't put I wouldn't put apes in the same category as bears, but I wouldn't put anybody in the
There's a
same
few other
category.
differences you could look at. Bears do not have the opposable thumb. They have elongated snouts, more similar to like canines, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, there's several key differences you point to there.
Are you? This is from I'm Your Death Jay. Now this is the same guy who um, is too afraid to even mic up and has the audacity to criticize my panel guest. Are you actually going to get a scientific video or a real scientist on here, or just a complete clown show as usual? Ass clown. Wow, man.
No, I appreciate that.
I wish
Good.
he had a microphone. How about this? How about this? How about I go to Walmart for you and buy you a mic? And if you can give me an address to a local library, I'll mail it there. I don't want you to dox yourself. I'll mail you a microphone since you can't afford one. Since living with mom is not enough to afford a microphone. So I'll buy you a mic. You can mic up, but you can come on here and you can be the real scientist that you expect me to have on the show. Um, so no actual science here then, huh? Well, I don't I don't really debate atheists on evolution, and I'll tell you why. And you can tell me if this is wrong thinking or not. I believe evolution is just, when I say evolution, I mean common descent. I believe it's just an evolutionary assumption made based on what we've been talking about, the similarities. So it's sort of circular to me. These certain animals have certain characteristics, therefore they're related. They're related because they have certain characteristics that are similar. So I think it's just an evolutionary assumption that you make and others make, used to explain the similarities. What do you think about that?
Okay, well, I mean, I agree with you. To comment on what he said, as far as I know you're an educator, and I respect that, and I respect people who teach, and I think if you're saying, oh, Doctor So and So versus Professor X are debating over here tonight, that's one thing, but anybody can have a YouTube channel, and I think it's important to get into the meat of what everyday people believe, and that's kind of the streams that I enjoy and streams that I participate in. So, uh, uh, but yeah, I mean, I think yeah, there's a criterion under which we try to categorize things that are uniquely similar, not vaguely similar, and that's what we're referring to when we talk about taxonomy, and kind of the layperson's understanding of this kind of lies in like what you're talking about. You either have a view of evolution where there's a phylogenetic tree and you see humans next to orangutans, next to gorillas, and so forth. And then you have another view of that, which is going to say, no, humans are unique in of themselves and bear um, little, if any, resemblance to these creatures. And any resemblance is going to be purely coincidental under that view, right?
I wouldn't say it's coincidental. I would say it's intentional. I think God designed all of his creation to thrive on the planet. So if we were, now of course you're going to pawn this off to evolutionary processes, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But if God would have created us on a gas planet, then we might all have the same sort of composition, um, but slight differences. So we're unique, but we all have the same substance or the same makeup that we need to have in order to survive on this planet. So if you were silicon based, you would not survive on Earth. So of course, everyone is made up of the same basic protein molecules. In order to survive on this planet, that would have to be the case. So I don't have a problem with similar structure, similar DNA. I don't have a problem with that. I stress and emphasize the distinctions, which I think separates us, and there's a chasm that's unbridgeable. Composition,
And
culture. We'll
so
get into that.
you think that's primarily in the minds or the brains of humans, right? Is that's kind of what you were saying earlier?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Of course. Yeah. I think that separates us from all other beings, and I think it has to. I think there's a spiritual reality, or what the Bible calls the image of God, which is not said to be shared with any other creature but humans. Okay, if anyone is interested in coming in and joining in on the conversation, I don't do this often. You know that if you watch my channel, you won't find one video on evolution. I think it's a waste of time to debate someone's assumption, and what I think is an assumption. Don't take any offense. But gee, I can just as well assume that God created all creatures to thrive, and therefore they have to have the same makeup genetically with slight variations in order to survive on planet Earth. Oh, William is back.
Yeah, it sounded like y'all's line of questioning. It kind of moved to a like it was good for me to come back now.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna.
I
I'm
know.
gonna
Oh,
go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead. I know you want to do the video. That's all I was going to say.
It's only 2 minutes. It's only 2 minutes, but try to bear with me. I'm not going to stop it again. I'm just going to let it play through.
DNA similarities based on this telling that you're not science. We know you're not a teacher. Who cares? Wait, no one cares what category you put one animal in as opposed to another. I want to make
I'm just asking you if you know what an ape is, because how do you know when you're looking at an ape? Clearly, you can't.
It's an animal. It's an animal.
Yeah, okay, there are lots of animals. What distinguishes
It's an animal
ape?
that you gave a label to. You could have called it. You could have called it something else.
Joe, if I show you a picture of an ape, how do you know it's an ape? No, if I show you a picture of an ape, how do you know it's an ape?
Because someone called a creature with those characteristics. Yeah, it was Adam. It was
Okay,
Adam,
but if
right?
I show you a picture of a creature, okay, if I show you a picture of a creature, what about the
How many times do I have to answer the same question? Now you guys wonder why I don't debate women. How many times do I have to answer the same question, Trustee? I mean, did you get my answer? Did were you able to determine what my answer was? Those things that have
So,
characteristics.
right. And so I do feel it's a bit evasive, though, right? Because if you're saying the characteristics of an ape, I list all those off to you. What would it resemble? It would resemble a human. But your claim is that humans do not resemble apes because of
No.
one distinct feature,
Yes.
not all these other features
No,
that
we
do
do
match.
resemble apes. No. We do resemble apes, but it's an assumption to assume because we resemble or look like an ape that because you're concentrating on those similarities. But I can focus and emphasize, and the Bible emphasizes the distinctions rather than the similarities. So as
But
Christians,
why?
we will
Okay, so
emphasize
in that line of reasoning, though, why would a human resemble an ape rather than a bear or a horse?
I have no idea. Now, when I get to heaven, I'm bringing an ape with me, and I'm going to say, Lord, what were you thinking? Because this, uh, what were you thinking? Right? I'm sure there's a reason why. I'm sure there's a reason. I just don't know why. I don't know why He made us so similar to the structures of, as far as structures concerned, and DNA. Uh, P Town has joined us. How's it going, P Town?
Hi guys, how's
Maybe
my
P Town
mic?
can
Sometimes I've
You
had
sound good,
issues
Pete Town.
last.
You sound real good.
Okay.
maybe P-Town can
What's
answer
up, Will?
why did God create us so simple? Because he's a creationist, so I can say create. Why did he create us? Why do you think God made us so similar to the ape to the point where 1 to 2% of our population is now convinced that of common descent? Why do you think God did that?
So he can leave Trustee over to his reprobate mind. I have no idea, man. I don't think we resemble monkeys that much. They're hairy. Their feet
Are you black?
their feet are different. They got tails, dude. Like they go
Jill, I'm gonna have to throw a
and they
flag
throw
on the
poop
play, man.
around.
You can't do that.
I
You ever
I
see it?
don't look at the monkey and go, oh look, there's my great granddad.
You ever see the movie Blindside?
Who's in it?
I haven't seen Planet of the Apes
How about
either.
how about the
Ouch.
how about the movie Green Mile?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me
love that movie.
you put that guy next to an ape. You're not gonna tell me you don't see any similarity.
I think you'd
That's
see him eat the ape.
I still don't.
I think you'd see him eat the ape.
I don't think you'll be able to see this very well, but I actually was looking at pictures before I came on here of shaved gorillas, and it's eerie when you
Way
shave
too
them.
racist.
Oh,
They look
if you
just
want to
like
compare
they
that,
just look they look just like regular white dudes, man. I mean,
wow. Do you want to
Well,
share
But
that?
have you scanned an animal? There's lots of animals when you take away their hair, they resemble humans.
Okay, I don't know what it is about me that makes everybody get racist, but I don't know if I want to be in this conversation if we're going to go this
Now,
direction with
do you have?
shaved
If anyone,
monkeys.
I did not think that he looks like an ape.
if anyone wants to share anything, including those pictures, I'd love to see those pictures, Trusty. As long as they're not, X-rated.
I don't think it'll let me share from here.
If
Because
Oh
you
I'm
yeah.
send
on
me,
mobile.
can
And
you give me the link
free.
and I'll or give Jill the link. We can present it if you can
All right, if you give me
tell
the
us where
link
it's
and
at.
put the link in the private chat, I can share it there. All right, I'm
Okay.
playing the video.
Creature makes you think ape.
The characteristics are given to that creature we labeled ape. That's all. Just
What
like I know what an
characteristic?
air-
That's what I'm saying. I'm
just
saying
like I know
so.
what an
If I show
airplane
you,
is.
if I show you a picture and I say, Jill, what animal is
Then
this?
I'm going to say that's an airplane because that's the label
No.
we've given to that
Okay,
thing
but listen,
that has
but
those
listen,
characteristics. That's all.
Okay, but here's the question. If I hold up a picture and I say, Jill, what animal is this? What makes you say ape instead of elephant?
Because the label, if you're listening, pay attention, liberal. Because the label that we've been given for there's the label characteristics is ape. That's what I'm going to call
Right,
it.
but I'm asking you for some of those characteristics.
Jill.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know how you were able to make out what was said with all the constant cutting off and
Well, you do have a very distinctive voice, Saint Jill.
I do. All right, so are these the pictures? Wow, he just showed. Okay, so wow, yeah, I definitely has some questions. So these,
Well,
so
How,
yeah,
how does that look
like
like regular
the
old white
arms,
dudes?
right? Like when you take the skin of an animal, you start to see muscles, and
mhm.
especially the muscles of monkeys, they resemble the muscles of ours.
Like, well,
Wow.
in appearance, but their functionality is vastly different. I mean, they're so much stronger than we are,
Oh yeah,
like per
Yeah,
square inch of muscle. It's ridiculous.
right. I mean,
There
they
are
look like
superiors
bodybuilders
to that.
without working out.
Yeah, they're
Crazy.
physically superior to us.
did you see the YouTube short where there were some apes or gorillas, probably gorillas. They were larger, that were fighting. It's just like a
Well,
big, like rumbling, fighting each other. 6 or 7 of them all fighting in the zoo, and people are watching and horrified, and they're yelling, "Where's the zookeeper? Where's the zookeeper?" And the zookeeper's like, "Look, you think I'm gonna go in there? You think I'm gonna
like,
go in there and tame this? Really?" And
What am
well,
I
what
supposed to do?
you see the zookeeper
what
like fading into the bushes like Homer Simpson, like, uh,
He
well,
just
what the
clocks out and
evolutionists
goes home.
what the evolutionists do is they'll take the things that we're not similar with, right? So we have different types of skins. We don't need fur because it breathes better. We walk upright. We have different eyes. These different things. Well, then they'll say, oh, because they're not because they're dissimilarities. They're different stages in evolution, and they'll put a fancy documentary out there about how, with a made up story about how each one of these were leaps in evolution. But it's really just a bunch of made up stuff. Now, there's a little bit of application, but really what it is just CGI and just fancy silliness, I think now.
Can
Your turn,
can I
Joe.
throw something in here that might be from a different perspective?
Yeah?
Well, I have
While
to
you're
ask Jill.
here.
I want to make sure it's okay with Jill.
Just
yeah, yeah. You want to
stop
share
the
something?
Yeah, one of the reasons that like I don't really subscribe to evolution is because like I raise animals. Like I'm into agriculture, and like for a long time, the goal has been to get a larger animal to have more meat, per feed and all that. So you isolate, you try to isolate your better characteristics and breed for larger size and all that stuff, faster growth. But there's a limit. There's like a point where there's no more variation available for the gene. Like it can't do or we'd have pigs the size of elephants right now with the way that farmers are about getting bigger animals. Like there's a block there that they just can't you can't get past. without like
And, you know,
splicing DNA.
and to add to that, there's blocks also on the mental aspect as well. Like, you can't tame certain animals. Try to put a leash
Well,
on a
that's
cat.
not a limitation on evolution, though. That's just a limitation on human intervention in breeding and selection. That's a limitation on our abilities. That doesn't limit evolution in itself.
Right, but we're talking about like
It's an example, though.
yeah. All I'm saying is that you're advancing that selective breeding that way to experiment with the variations available in the gene, because you're trying to tap into whatever the genetics are that gives you
But
that
you
maximizes
understand
what you're doing.
the genetics are only one facet of the process. I mean, that's why we call it natural selection. Anything we're doing is an artificial selection done by humans. Like nature offers different
Okay.
mutations for different circumstances in the theory.
Right. I understand that we haven't been able, and that could be why we haven't been able to attain this goal, right? Because there's certain things, but it has been done over like as far as man can trace back. We've been selectively breeding animals, right? Like to try and get the characteristics that we want. That's why we have so many heritage breeds that go back. And anyway, the point being that for whatever reason we can't artificially do anything to push the edge of that envelope. Right, we can't get past the genetic limitations in the genetic code. There's only so many that you're going to have.
No,
for
but
a,
if you
for a,
give it millions of billions of years, though,
oh really?
Dr.
How do we
Freeman.
measure that though? How do you when
No,
was that last measure?
well, we can measure now and then extrapolate. It's
Can
called
we?
science.
Well, I mean that's
Okay, I can't.
fascinating.
I gotta put off the masquerading before someone clips something.
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I don't know what your position is. It just sounds like you're in the bathtub. But like I'll
It's
argue about it. I'm
Things
not
that
a scientist.
No, yeah, like that's what we were saying earlier. I think we're all. I mean, well, I think Jill's the only educator here. None of us are highly educated.
Well, not in this subject. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm a lay person in this subject, so and I
I'm
don't
just.
discuss it at all. I'm not standing for truth. So
But you
if
can
you give,
reason though. All of us can reason like about what we see though, right? And then
well, yeah,
what
I
we
just dismiss it, and I told Ape I dismiss it, and I don't have the argument because to me it's just a huge assumption. I could just as well assume intelligent design.
Well, to me, I mean, I believe evolutionary theory rings of common sense. I think it is more it is a more logical approach than intelligent design. I mean, I can't. It's purely anecdotal as far as, but like the conversation we're having about taxonomy. I think again, if you just appeal to the fact that the taxonomy of Moses is less specific than the taxonomy we have in evolutionary biology today and zoology, then we could just say that we have a better understanding than Moses did of the natural world. And that wouldn't be too far afield. Like, it's not saying Moses was wrong. Moses just didn't have the complete information in order to make a full and accurate taxonomy.
What was Moses missing as to?
He was missing the fact that not all winged animals belong to the same species and genera.
Because some can give birth.
Because
right?
what?
Because they can give birth. Like mammals, they're mammals, right? That's one of the criteria.
They reproduce differently. They respire differently. They have different bone structures. There are many significant differences.
Okay.
So what makes this argument different than saying Moses didn't know what he was talking about because he called dolphins fish?
It's the same argument. And it's the same argument. And the point being that you can't find those significant differences between the other species of ape, which we've represented, and humans. Other than the fact of us being hairless and having larger brains, you can't really establish any other significant difference.
There's more than that, though. than just those
We
two.
have the same anatomical structure, the same bone structure, the same modes of locomotion.
We have different bone structures and different motions.
In what way?
The hips, the feet. We walk a completely different style. We don't swing from trees, dude. Like,
I can swing from trees just fine.
we don't have tails. They have bones
You
in their
can.
tails.
You ever use the monkey bars? No, monkeys have tails. Apes do not have tails. That's a significant that we established that. Ape
I can
species
work
do
out.
not have tails by definition.
I can work out.
I'll jump back in again.
There we go.
Just a quick one. Just a quick one. Someone mentioned about us being airless, and obviously apes have quite a large amount of hair on them. We've actually got more hair follicles on our body than most apes have. It's just that our hairs are shorter. So we're not hairless. We're just as hairy, if not more hairy than apes, just that our hair is shorter. Hair follicle-wise, we've got more.
Thanks for clarifying, Paul. I mean, I was trying to say we are considered to be mostly hairless, and that's the reason for the avatar I have now. Just because that's one thing that it's an aesthetic difference that most people point to between us and the other exigent species.
Yeah, but I would, like I said, I would say that that's a mistake. We look at ourselves as if we're hairless, but we're actually not.
Correct.
Yeah, that was my main point.
Is anyone an expert in hominids here? Because there's a comment here.
What I was referencing in that case was, I think it's our skin that's different.
Do you know this guy? He seems to have. He seems to have.
Is our skin different to other apes? Because I know certainly chimpanzees and gorillas, they've got fingerprints the same as we've got fingerprints. So I would say that would say that the skin is very, very similar. What would be the difference between our skin and a chimpanzee's skin?
So
Trustee, I think they have literally thicker dermal layers. Right.
Yeah, they don't have as much body fat. They don't carry their body fat on the outside like that. They carry it differently.
So more muscle fat.
We're one of the only apes that has a very small amount of blubber, like dolphins would have. So we do have a certain amount of blubber, whereas other apes don't.
Would you say? Do you agree with Walter Cronkite, who said if you went back far enough, your father's fathers, going back maybe 500,000 generations, about 5 million years? Do you believe that was an ape? What you would call an ape, or label an ape?
Well, I still label as ape. So
yeah, that doesn't take us out of the category that they're using. We're already apes in their eyes.
Yeah, nothing's changed. We're still apes.
I mean like the one on the screen.
Like what we would call a primate.
No. That's a different type of ape. The one on the screen that I have is a modern ape. It's just shaped. That is a real picture of a modern ape.
Yeah.
Okay, so what type of apes were we 5 million years ago?
A type that's now extinct.
Yeah.
The type that's now extinct.
Yeah. That particular ape no longer exists.
We ate our fathers.
Right.
Could this type of ape read or write?
Primitively.
No.
Maybe 5 million years? Yeah.
Okay, so it's definitely not human.
Well, no, reading and writing doesn't necessarily make somebody human. We can have humans now that can't read and write. That doesn't make them non-human just because there's a skill that they haven't learned.
We're talking about an ancestor with the same genome, not the same abilities, not the same appearance.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I don't believe that provides sufficient proof of relationship, but
Jill,
yeah, so we would say that. Oh, I'm sorry. We would say that Oh well. Oh, it's Hillary's emails. We would say that the distance between humans and any other animal, regardless of what you want to call that animal, I don't really care what you call it. Look, if I get hungry enough, I'm going to eat your pet cat, your dog, because I'm human, and God gave me dominion over all of the animals. So I don't care what label you put it, based on what characteristics. It's become increasingly evident that there is an unbridgeable chasm between us and them. So that's the Christian position. And the more we learn about ourselves, the the more we see that both in composition and culture, there is no comparison. But I know Bongo the chimp shared his banana with his cousin Ida. I know that means that that's a primitive or an ancient type of altruism. I know the argument. I
You
just
know
think
what I
it's
watched recently? The Harambe video. That one gets you because that gorilla is pretty pissed off. But he's like, I don't think he's trying to hurt the kid. He's like telling him, like, look what kind of shitty parents you are. A gorilla's got a hold of your kid. Like that's what that video conveys to me. Like,
is that the one where it was holding the baby?
yeah, it kind of
Yeah.
drags him through the water a little bit.
Oh
Yeah,
Lord.
and then they shoot him. Yeah,
Yeah.
or her.
Yeah.
It was a female gorilla, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So to assume that humans, I would argue, and hominids are related because they both walk upright. I agree with P Town. That to me is just picking a characteristic. That's like saying hummingbirds and helicopters are related because they both have wings. So you're doing the same thing Moses did, only you're doing that with humans. So we would argue that your taxonomy is not wrong, but it's just not detailed enough. That's my argument. That's my position.
I'm going to say something offensive, but from my perspective, like I worship God, Trustee, and sometimes I get the impression like you're worshiping an ape.
What the hell?
Worshipping a
What?
what? Wait. No,
Okay,
I'm not
in
offended, but I didn't hear the last
in
part.
essence, you know,
You
That
think
was
I'm
just
I
worshiping
mean,
deliberately
what?
provocative, is
your
what that was.
podcast,
Detail.
like, what I said, I was going to say something possibly offensive.
Not offensive,
Is that
provocative. You're picking a fight intentionally.
well? Maybe there's a constructive reason here,
Okay.
but I
Okay,
mean,
define worship, and then we can go from there.
okay.
I'll go with that.
Really, I'm not good with definitions.
Well,
Um,
the way I define it, do you prostrate yourself to your image, Trustee? I don't know if you're using your real name or not.
prostrate sounds like prostate.
No,
Well, whatever gets you off. Okay, well, if you're not
I
prostrating
I
yourself,
only prostrate when I'm hungover. But no, it has nothing to do with my image for sure.
okay, well, if you're not prostrating yourself in obeisance to your image, then it's not worship. So he's using an icon the same as you, P-Town. You don't worship the moon, do you? Even though that was pivotal for your conversion.
Well, is it about the icon, or is
it-
it about his feelings about evolution? Because I'm not sure which one you're pointing at, P-Town.
The moon thing came after my conversion.
Okay.
Well, I call it so. I mean, I think by a common definition of worship, I would say I do not worship evolution. I do not worship science. I believe that science and evolutionary theory are a pretty common sense approach that answer questions that I have about the way the world works, and so I don't worship them. I believe them so far as they are useful to me, and they seem to align with my understanding of reality.
Yes,
If
but
I were
Kevin.
Useful in
But
the sense
Kevin,
that you believe that's where you came from, right?
yeah, but Kevin,
Whereas,
where's your magic book? If you don't have that, you really don't have anything you can talk about.
Well, I have many magic books. My favorite magic books are works of fiction, though. I love fiction. I can indulge in fiction all day. It's way better than
we
reality.
we definitely know you do. Just joking. I guess what I was saying is that it's a common theme with a lot of the atheists I talk to. They love this idea that we came from monkeys, and I gotta kind of admire it, at least
I've
since
never
that's
heard
what they
any atheists
believe.
say that we. I've never heard any atheists say we came from monkeys. I've heard them say we came from apes. Apes and monkeys are slightly different. Monkeys
Yeah,
for
and I
start
think
off.
I'm aware. I'm
Monkeys
aware.
have tails for start off, and apes
We are-
don't.
We
If
are
I said
very
humans come from
distinct
humans,
from
would you be shocked? Yeah, if I said humans come from humans, would you be shocked, P-Town?
No.
Okay, and since taxonomically speaking, humans are apes, therefore saying that humans come from apes is just saying humans come from humans.
Well, here's an example. I'm full aware that they came from your perspective, PC, that you came from apes, and I said monkeys, and it was offensive and touched a nerve. And this is an example of how,
No,
in
saying
this
that saying the
essence, you
monkey
worship
wasn't offensive.
you worship
It was
apes.
wrong.
In this
It's
sense,
incorrect.
in this sense, there's an essence of worshiping the apes over monkeys.
It's
There is
really
no-
not
No,
worship.
it's just
not
that
worship.
using the word monkey was absolutely wrong, whereas using the word ape was correct. Nobody got offended over you saying monkeys.
Yeah.
It just showed your ignorance between the difference between a monkey and an ape.
No, it's the
Okay.
worship
You know,
word.
And you probably wanted to use it to be offensive, which is all you was trying to do. Which, like I say, it's not offensive to say
Yeah.
monkeys. It just shows your ignorance on the difference between the two.
If Paul says
Yeah.
2 + 2 is 5, and P-Town, you correct him and say, no, 2 + 2 is 4, are you worshiping 4 over 5? Because he's correct again?
Very good example.
And these silly hypotheticals don't make any sense since it's not true. Paul didn't say anything, so you kind of lost
It's
me.
directly analogous.
I don't-
It's not a silly hypothetical. What you said was a silly
It is.
hypothetical
It
because
is.
Paul is in no way worshiping, his correction over you. That doesn't make any
Paul
sense.
didn't
He's
say
trying
that.
to- He did say
You
that
guys do
it's
worship
not
monkeys.
No. Oh,
I mean,
you must
apes.
have been drinking. You must be drinking.
No, 0 today.
Well, then maybe you should be drinking.
I know you're saying monkeys intentionally because that is willfully ignoring.
I said I was. I
all-
said I was.
So
Town.
I mean,
No, but what I was trying to say is origins. Like there's there is an honorable aspect of, like, if you actually do believe that you came from a descendants of apes millions of years ago, I think that it should be applicable to your life the way that
No, you're categorizing it wrong. You're saying if we came from it, we
Trustee
are
Ape, the way
it.
that Trustee Ape just said, it is helpful. Use the word helpful in the sense
useful.
that
I said useful.
useful. Sorry, okay, but I do think it should be. If I was an evolutionist, it would be an aspect of how I view and approach life. So I think
Not just life. I can use it. I can apply it to my mental health and my medical health. Right? Like I can see similarities in the behaviors of other exigent primates and say, "Oh, I'm exhibiting that behavior. That's a product of my biology."
Sure, and when I was, and since I have a degree in psychology, and at the time I was an atheist, and I thought that there was significant applications for evolutionary psychology. I mean, I think that I can see how that it is useful for you, and the appearance of being useful. But I think that I just, the bottom line is I just think that my now belief, my view that we didn't come from that, we came from God, is just so much better. I don't know. It's just the truth. Really do.
Why does God behave like
and I think
a
it would be
common
better
ape?
for you. Sorry, what?
Why does God in the Bible behave like a common ape then? If God is so much greater than us, why does he have all the same behavioral traits? Anger, jealousy, spite.
Apes get angry?
Yes.
How do
You
you
have
know
yeah,
a
that?
man
they get
angry.
very-
Oh
When-
my goodness.
When did
And they're very
how did you know
dominant.
he
Apes
thinks
actually
that?
have a problem.
How do you know he's angry? Did you ask him?
Demonstrated
He
behavior.
said he was
We taught him
angry. He
sign
said
language.
it in the Bible. He
Well, we
said he
taught him
was
sign
mad at
language.
us, and then
I'm
he
talking about.
flooded
I'm
us,
talking
and
about the
he
ape. How
like
do you?
rained fire down.
Yeah,
It
through
was
do you
all.
know the
demonstrated
ape?
I'm
behavior.
pretty sure that was all in
Hold on, guys. Hold on, one at a time. How do you know the ape was angry?
there. The ape god.
No. The ape that is supposed to be displaying what we call anger. How do you know that that's what we call anger? What the
Because
ape
it
is displaying?
represents the way that we look. There was an experiment done with two.
I mean,
I
if
think
that's
it was
not anger, what is it?
there was two chimpanzees, and one was they were given tasks to do, and they were given a treat, and one of them was given something like grapes, which they really enjoyed having. So to start with, they were giving it some bland food, and it was quite happy to take that food until the other one was taking part. And when the other one was getting the correct answer, it was getting a grape, and when the other one was getting the correct answer, it was getting this particular bland food, which it was quite happy to take prior to the other one appearing. And once it noticed that the other one was getting the grapes and it wasn't, it then refused to eat the food that it was being given, and in fact, it even threw it back through the cage at the person that was giving the food. Now, I would say that that was a display of anger. It could
That was
see how unfair it was. It could see it was being treated fairly
right.
compared to what the other one was getting. So yes, you can see that there's anger in an ape.
Okay. All right.
And then
Jealousy,
Trustee
maybe
will
also
say, "See, that's exactly how God is in the Bible."
a little bit of jealousy, huh? He's a jealous ape, huh? God is a
But
jealous God.
I would spin it on you, Trustee. That's
Worship no
something that
other ape
we have
before me.
that's special about Christianity. Compare it to something like the Muslim God. It's the Muslim God to them is not Allah, it's not someone who has emotions. So we have a personal God. So
So
that
you would
you only
so
pick the bad attributes, but
so
you
you
ignore the good
interpreted,
ones.
Paul, you interpreted that as anger. So that from your human perspective, you condescended to reach down and suggest that the ape is actually feeling what you feel when someone takes away your snacks. Okay.
You could see
But
it was. It's the
we
same
have
as if I
never
observe another human being at the other side. I can observe another human being from a
that's not
distance
another
away,
human
and
being.
yeah, but I can see that they're being angry
Ape.
the way they're acting. And if an ape is acting in exactly the same way, I can look at
No.
that and say that that ape is acting as if it's angry. So when I was
Okay.
watching the chimpanzee, it was happy one time getting given this particular food, and then suddenly it's literally throwing the food back, making a noise, refusing to eat the food.
And that's
You
anger.
could see it was being angry. You could actually see
Can a
that it was
human
actually angry of what the situation was. It could see it was being treated
okay.
unfairly compared to
Okay.
the other one.
Can a human display the same characteristics and not be angry? I
Well,
just threw
if you,
my food back at you because I wanted to see it hit your face. Can a human display the same characteristic that you saw in the ape and not be angry?
yes, we
Okay.
have what we call
So I don't know how you could determine that the ape was angry, but this is what I talk. This is what I talk about. This monkey morality, and because Bongo the chimp shared his banana with his cousin, you think that that is him showing or being altruistic or him being a charitable. It's not.
So the ape is
That's
just
an ape.
acting angry or acting altruistic, but there's no like. How did the chimp learn that?
It's
How
instinct.
are
That's
you?
instinct. That's his instinct to do that.
Oh, and what is it in humans if
Survival.
it's not instinct? So
I
it's
think
still
human.
instinct.
I think human beings do have an instinctual aspect or component, but it's not out. It's not supposed to be, at least, uh, what drives us. I think we're driven by
Okay,
more than just instincts, as opposed to the knuckle dragging ape.
that doesn't make sense to me. We're driven by. You're talking about the same characteristic, but somehow you're saying it's different if they do it. If we do the same thing,
If we do the same
what is
thing,
the difference? It's the same
it,
behavior.
because you can't determine what's going on in my cerebral cortex. I cannot.
Yeah, you
I can
can.
display the
They can
same.
scan your brain and determine all kinds of things, and they
They
can
could
compare it
determine.
to monkeys and cows
They can
and sheep.
they can determine certain regions light up. when certain things happen, we get excited, you get angry, but
He can predict when you're going to move your hand before you decide you're going to move your hand.
okay, you're talking about neurons and
Yeah, neuronal activity.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right. But what we're saying is that the knuckle dragging ape ultimately is surviving. He is doing these
Okay,
things.
but when they measure brain activity, they can determine the same thing from the knuckle dragging ape that they can determine from you by putting a sensor in your brain, and they can say when you're going to move your hand before you move your hand. They can do the same thing with the ape.
No, I
So
agree.
there's no
They
difference.
should be able to do that with every animal because God gave us the same abilities. So he gave us the same characteristics because we have to survive on the same planet. So pointing to those similarities, at least with me, is not going to impress me. I'm more concerned as to why the ape and the human, as far as culture is concerned, why one can get angry, um, one can be right and or wrong, and the other cannot be right or wrong. If an ape kills another ape, is
Wait,
that
what?
right? If an ape kills another ape, is that right or wrong?
Well, I guess it depends on what species of ape under our law, but that's only because of the way that we write
Apes
laws.
have no. If an ape kills another ape, is that right or wrong?
Well, if I consider humans to be a species of ape, then that would be homicide.
If an ape kills another ape, that's homicide.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to do that. You have to be that
Yes, it would
silly in
be.
order to stay consistent in your evolutionary assumption. That's the point. That's why I reject evolution because it's silly.
Well, but
We
it's not
don't
silly.
consider we don't consider any
No, it's
member of
linguistic.
the hold on. We don't consider any member of our ecosystem to have that moral responsibility or standard. We only put that upon the human ape. Why is that?
Okay,
Because
I
we
would.
Because
have
of our ability
recognized
to read.
Because the human laws, we're not going to imply human laws when it comes to apes, but we do put some
special pleading.
responsibility we do put some responsibility on animals the way they act, and they will be punished for it. If a
You're
dog,
special pleading.
if a
You're special
domestic
pleading.
dog, no, if a dog attacks somebody, we'll have the dog put down.
You're special pleading.
How was that special pleading?
If we're all humans, then
We're not
you
on.
should
No,
be
we're not.
putting. If we're all
No,
apes, if we're all apes, excuse me, if we're all apes, then
yeah.
you should be putting the same moral responsibility on the chimp that you do the human. If we're all apes,
We're all apes, but
so
we have a subcategory of apes, which is humans. So our human laws are only applied to us. It'd be ridiculous, wouldn't it, if we tried to apply human laws onto chimpanzees or gorillas? That would just be ridiculous.
it is. It is
It'd
ridiculous.
be the same as like
So that's why we say it's ridiculous to put them in the same category as
We
us.
don't put them in exactly the same category, do we? We are all parts of. We are part of the ape family, but we have a subcategory of ape, which is Homo sapiens. So then you've got gorillas and you've got chimpanzees. We don't put them in the same category. They're in ones, and then you've got orangutans, which are in a different category. So we're in a category of human beings, and they're in their category. So just saying that because we're all apes, they should have to abide by the same laws as us is just a ridiculous
It
thing to
is.
say.
Yeah, it is. It is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that's where I leave evolution because of that absurdity.
No, but you're making it absurd. Absurd. We're not. You're just trying to find a way of making something sound absurd that actually isn't.
Well, you're saying that we're all apes, but we're just a
Yeah.
special
Well,
type.
yeah, but we're
You're
also
special
mammals as
pleading.
well. So
That's
no, it
special
isn't.
pleading.
No, don't be ridiculous, Joe. How is that special pleading? You've got humans, which are a subcategory of apes, and then you've got gorillas, which is a subcategory of apes, and you've got orangutans, and that were a subcategory of apes. So they come under the umbrella of apes. They also come under the umbrella of mammals. So we're going to then extend this ridiculous idea that you've got that we should apply laws to apes, and then start applying the same laws to mammals. So are we going to start giving dogs driving lessons so they can drive if they want, because they need to have a driving license under the law to be able to drive a vehicle? You see how ridiculous
I say
absurd
eat the
that gets?
ape. I say eat the ape, and I say eat the dog if you're in China. But so I don't put any of those creatures.
And I don't have a problem with somebody doing that.
Oh no, you can't. No, you can't have
No,
a
I
problem
can't.
because they're not super apes. They're not
I
super
said
apes.
I didn't have a problem with if a certain culture eats a certain animal, then that's for them. Yeah.
Right. You can't have a problem with that because they're not super apes.
Well, I can have a problem with that because I could be a vegetarian and I could have a problem with you eating any animals. So you see, I'm not a vegetarian, but I'm saying I could be a vegetarian. So I could say, yes, I do have a problem.
Is it wrong to eat an ape?
It's wrong to eat any animal according to Genesis 1. We're only supposed to eat seed-bearing plants.
Until after the flood.
All right. I'm not.
Yeah, exactly, P-Town.
I'm not talking about Christians. I'm talking about for the atheists. Is it wrong? Is it wrong to shoot and kill an ape? And why is it wrong to shoot and kill an ape?
Is it wrong for an atheist to eat an aborigine?
Is it wrong for an atheist to eat a Christian? I mean, this is kind of silly.
No,
it depends on which philosophical school you're going. Which one?
It's not, because you want to put them in the same category as apes, or put us in the same category as them because we're both
No,
apes.
I didn't put us in the same category. I said we have a subcategory. I didn't say we're in the same category. Humans have a subcategory of apes.
Okay.
So you've got different categories of it.
Okay. Are aborigines different categories of humans?
No, they're humans. We're all the same.
They are a different subcategory.
Different subcategory of the category.
And historically, yes, people of one phenotype have historically disparaged and treated other humans of other phenotypic subcategories very poorly. And even cannibalism.
So I'm asking that you have a category of ape, just like you have a category of human. And the subcategories are the different groups of humans. So we have a category of ape, and underneath that umbrella, there are different types of apes. Why is killing one type of ape wrong and killing another type of ape is okay?
Well, actually, I'd say it is, because I don't think I can't be 100% on this. I don't think it's legal to actually go and kill silverback gorillas just because you want to go do it. I think you'd possibly be prosecuted for doing that.
You would. So it's wrong because the law says it's wrong.
Yeah, the law says it's wrong. So
in a naturalistic,
in a natural state, then no, it wouldn't be wrong. If it would just go back to nature, wild animals, then none of that would be wrong. We wouldn't have laws, would we? So there wouldn't be a wrong or right when it comes to that.
So if it were just humans, if you had a world in which you had the planet of the apes, and you had all of the evolutionary, what do you call them? Transitional creatures, the ape, the man icon, which has become your argument. The icon itself has become your argument, in my opinion. If we had all those apes on the same planet, right? They're all under the category ape. Why is it wrong for one of those categories or types of apes to stone or kill another? Why is that wrong?
The answer will be different depending on which philosophical school you are addressing.
I thought what you was going to ask, if the planet of the apes was chosen, in other words, like the gorillas and what have you, had overrun the earth, would it be wrong for gorillas to kill human beings? Then no, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It would be wrong for us. We would find it wrong because it'd be something that was being done to us. The same as they would find it wrong because it'd be something we'd be doing to them. But so if they were the dominant primate of the earth, then in their law it wouldn't be wrong to kill humans. We would find it wrong because we're humans. But would it be wrong or right? Then no. Yeah, that would just be down. Yes, it would. So in that case, no, it wouldn't be. It would only be
Yeah,
wrong for
it
us.
goes backstage. Yeah, he's trying to get in. His connection
Oh,
dropped, and then he came
oh,
back
sorry
on.
about that. Sorry about that, Trustee. So it would be survival of the fittest. That's the rule. That's the only
Yeah.
rule.
Under the
Yeah,
survival of the
under
fittest
the way
rule,
that
it
was
would
done,
be
yes.
okay.
So it's not
But
wrong.
if we
I'm
view
doing.
if we view right or wrong as a moral position or moral preferences, then like Paul said, it would be wrong from our perspective, but it would be fine according to theirs. Then if we wanted to go under reciprocity, where you do unto others as you would have them do unto you, then it would be wrong, period, including it would be wrong for us to kill apes or cats or anything else that we didn't want killing us.
Why is it okay to murder cows but not people? Because humans can communicate, and that's I mean that's he's being kind of sarcastic there, but that's my position. My
Yeah, and
position
some
is that
humans
you
would
kill it.
yeah,
He was actually
and some
quoting what
human
I
beings
said.
would actually agree with that. Who would say that you're absolutely right, that it is wrong to kill cows. You just speak to a vegetarian or a vegan, they'll tell you it's wrong to kill
But
other
don't you
animals.
see? But don't you see? You really don't have a basis for determining right versus wrong if you take this position that all animals are, or all these creatures are basically on the same level with slight variations, slight distinctions, and slight elevations. Super
I
apes,
didn't
whatever
put
you
them
want
on
to
the
call
same
them.
level though. I
You
Right.
can
didn't put
Oh,
say
them on
I
the
that,
said,
same
but
level.
in our own species, the way that we've got different levels of intelligence and dexterity and athleticism and things like that. I mean, there's variations that you can break down in larger spectrums or smaller spectrums if you choose to.
right, but we never break it down to the point where we say killing one of those dumb people is okay. We do that with the
Some
other
of us do.
apes. We do that with the other animals. We do say that, hey, look, slaughter that pig. Its pork is good for you. I mean, we
Well,
do
pigs
that.
are
We
not
do
apes.
that.
Well, we're
You
we're that kind of
just
animal.
equivocated pigs with apes. Pigs are not apes, right? They're not in the same classification. Now, I agree that it's probably immoral to say that it is okay to slaughter other animals with no precondition other than we are hungry, right? We don't tend to slaughter other apes. That's already a taboo.
It is
That's
taboo.
already a taboo in most cultures
It is taboo, but why? What's the
because we
underlying?
recognize their
Go ahead.
similarity to ourselves.
Oh, okay. So because they're similar to us in various ways, we can't kill them.
We do kill them.
We're not supposed to kill them.
But most of us see it as reprehensible. There's
We kill
an
each other,
inherent feature in our morality that tells us that this is wrong.
but we kill
It
each
seems
other at a higher rate than we kill them.
That's what we believe. We believe that there's something inherent. I'm asking, where does it come from an evolutionary perspective? Where does that come from? That saying, or
we
that feeling?
definitely don't we definitely don't kill more humans than we do cows or pigs. That's a falsehood.
Oh yeah, I thought you were talking
We
about monkeys for some reason. I don't know why I would thought you were talking.
oh yeah.
It's
No,
got to
and
be
as
close
far as other,
though.
yeah, that's considered extremely taboo in most cultures, as I said, because we recognize the similarities. Um, but it's also considered to be a delicacy in those cultures that still practice in it. So, I mean, consider that cannibalism is still a delicacy in some parts of the world, right? But that doesn't make it right. Most people don't do it.
Or tasty. So I've heard.
Do apes
So,
bury their do apes bury their dead ones, dead
Some
loved
do,
ones?
yes.
They
Some
mourn them.
do.
I
And
saw a
some will
documentary.
bury them under a pile of rocks.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
do.
I saw a documentary showing that apes were burying. I said, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
They mourn, like they have periods of mourning too.
that's a very biblical view, I would say. I mean, I could
But what
see
does
that.
dominion mean? You have to go into the words and see what the whole thing actually means. What does dominion mean?
I would say
Yeah.
dominion in my interpretation means more like a sense of responsibility, of stewardship.
Exactly. That's exactly what it means. I hope that Peter, you don't ever adopt any kids or have any foster kids, because I don't want you eating them. And I'm teasing, of course. I know that you would never do that.
He just
I'm
wants them for
being
himself,
hyperbolic.
Peter.
I know.
Tasty children.
Yummy, yummy.
We got
Aren't a
Hansel
lot
and
of
Gretel.
apes vegetarian? Is that, am I wrong about that? That there's a great percentage of apes that are vegetarian.
Quite a few, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably more profitable for them. I mean, it's hard for them to get meat. They don't cook, right? So,
right.
Well, I mean, it's not about cooking. That we're, yeah, I don't think that
well,
that was
because they can't.
It partially is.
There's a lot of meat that you can't eat without getting parasites, and they probably know that.
Yeah.
Through instinct.
Right, but other animals do. Like other animals, kill and eat meat, and that, like I'm saying,
But
it's in their
their
environment.
saliva. Yeah, but their
Again, they're
saliva
not
can
geared
kill
for
them.
it, though, right? They're not.
Right,
They're not wired
exactly.
for meat. Is what I was. Okay, that's
They're-
kind of where I wanted to go with it. They're just not wired for meat.
There's a difference in the way the gut works and the gut bacteria, especially in things like cows, deers. A lot of quadrupeds have a different gut biome, so they process meats differently than we do. They're not susceptible to the same diseases and parasite things.
Yeah, like goats have or cows have 4 stomachs, and goats I think have compartmentalized stomachs too. It's totally different
Right.
what they can consume. So yeah, I get that. It's just, but that's what I'm saying. Like there's a difference there in the way that they would look at other animals as food, and the way that we look at other animals as food. Like we eat meat. A lot of us are very, very favorable to meat. So I think that our culture has developed, our society has developed a lot around that. And so if we can't find some reason to spare you, we'll eat you.
You can look at like the other scavenging mammals, raccoons included, that can eat things that we would consider putrid and rotten. They would destroy us, right? but those raccoons with their thumbs, they can go in the garbage can and just eat things that we have to discard because their stomachs can handle it. They're good.
So do homeless people.
Yeah.
I'm always fighting over the last bit of like Krispy Kreme at the bottom of the box for these guys.
Right, I'm going again. We're about to go out, so I'll be leaving this time. I won't be coming back in.
Take care, Paul.
Okay, catch you later, Paul.
Yeah. All right. Catch you all later.
See you, Paul.
Bye. Bye.
I should go too. My monkey just woke up and is throwing a fit. So
Hey, accurate.
Yeah, that was very honest. Thank you.
You should kill it. Nothing wrong with killing that
No,
monkey.
don't kill it. Don't listen
a
to
little
it.
4.5-year-old monkey.
Nothing wrong with it. It's not a super.
You have to
ape,
eat
so.
it though. If you kill it, you have to eat it. That's the rule.
Yeah, beat down.
It's not a super ape.
Yeah.
I can kill it. Nothing you can do about it.
I'll give her a kiss on the cheek for me.
I don't care if it's your
That
pet.
seems weird. I'm just kidding.
Whoopi's gonna kill it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Jill, you've been a really, really good host.
Yeah.
I'm always a good host.
Nah, it's not true.
Yeah.
We all have our good
In
days
the
and our
fullness
bad
of
days.
time. In the fullness of time, Jill is trans temporarily great host. Yeah.
I want to. I want to
You
share
clever
something.
bastard.
So I would say I've never had an unpleasant conversation with Jill, even when we disagree.
No, as long as there's not too many liberals in the room cutting me off, I'm pretty reasonable guy.
It's not like they're doing it.
But I want to show you something. This is Ted Bundy. Everybody knows who Ted Bundy is, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah, he
Al's
ate
brother.
too, right?
I want the
brother, right?
atheist. I want the atheist response to Ted Bundy's. Now, this letter was written to his victims. Believe it or not, this is how sick this man was. He wrote a letter to his victims. And they actually found this letter, and now it's like circulating all of the philosophical and psychological halls and upper academia.
Go ahead and
video?
show it so we can start reading it.
Is
we're
it
really
video or a
intrigued
text?
by this. It's a text.
Will you read it for us, Jill?
Yeah, I'm posting. I'm
Okay, cool.
sharing it
But
now.
I do better reading than listening, though, so I need to see it.
Yeah, I'm multitasking too, so I'm trying to keep up with what you're doing. You're just coming at me so fast. With now it's Ted Bundy. I wasn't ready, Jill. There was no warning.
Can you see that on the screen?
It's only black for me right now.
What's up, Hubbles?
Hey, Sammy.
Someone just came into the room.
It's Sammy.
Sammy did.
Now we got something. Now there's text.
Okay, this is Ted Bundy. This is his letter to his victims. He wrote. He said that he learned that all moral judgments are value, quote unquote, value judgments. All value judgments are subjective, and that none can be proved to either be right or wrong. I discovered that to become truly free, to become unfettered or unhinged, I had to become truly uninhibited. And I quickly discovered that the greatest obstacle to my freedom, the greatest block and limitation to it consists. This guy was pretty smart for a serial killer. Usually they're the ones who are the serial killers, the real smart ones. So you keep bragging about how intelligent you are, liberal.
No comment.
That's why they can do it all over and over again, because they can't be caught easily.
All right. So he says that I discovered the greatest obstacle to my freedom, the greatest block to and limitation to it, consists in the unsupportable, he's right, value judgment that I was bound to respect the rights of others. I asked myself, who were those others? Other human beings with human rights. Why is it more wrong to kill a human animal than any other animal, a pig, a sheep, or a steer? Is your life more to you than a hog's life is to a hog? Why should I be willing to sacrifice my pleasure more for one or for the one than for the other? Surely you would not, in the scientific enlightenment or this age of scientific enlightenment, declare that God or nature has marked some pleasures as moral or good and others as immoral or bad. In any case, let me assure you, my dear young lady, that there is absolutely no comparison between the pleasure I might take in eating ham and the pleasure I anticipate in raping and murdering you. That is the honest conclusion to which my education has led me after the most conscientious examination of my spontaneous and uninhibited self. That's Ted Bundy. What do you got? What do you think?
That's interesting. So first of all, I don't know about the legitimacy of this letter. Bundy killed mostly men. So the fact that he says "my lady," I don't know about that.
Wait.
Yeah.
No,
you know who
that's
Ted
not
Bundy is?
Secondly,
You're thinking of
Not Ted
Jeffrey
Bundy?
Dahmer.
that's not.
Jeffrey
You're not
Dahmer.
thinking.
No, Bundy killed women. Yeah.
Mostly college women. Yeah.
Oh, got you. Yeah, you're right. Okay, got that one mixed up.
Well, do you only want atheist perspectives, or do you want?
Oh no, everyone can chime in. What do you guys think? Is he right?
Yeah, there are three flaws in this. Actually, what he's written is mostly correct, except for three issues. First off, when people hear moral judgments, most people don't understand what morals are. They think that morals are actually ethics. Moral judgment are simply preference statements. He's calling them value judgments. I'll call them preference statements as to what you feel is one way or the other. Just like Paul was saying, for the human, we would feel bad. We would think it was wrong for the ape to kill us, but the ape would feel it was wrong for us to kill it. Okay, so again, ethics is different from morality. Ethically, there are huge reasons, and ethics are not subjective. Ethics have to be applied universally, which takes it out of the category of subjective. Okay, so that's one issue. The other one was, where was it? Oh, why should I be more willing to sacrifice my pleasure? This is a little bit more than halfway down. Why should I be willing to sacrifice my pleasure more for the one than for the other, as the hog or the human? Why? Because that hog isn't going to put you in prison, and it isn't going to send you to the electric chair, but us very clever apes definitely will and did. And then the third one, how he's equating eating ham to the pleasure that he gets from raping and murdering. Okay, eating ham is an already dead body. So if he wanted to say performing necrophilia on a person, then okay, it would be roughly equivalent. But rape is usually of a live person, so it's wrong because of that. It's causing pain. And second, murdering is wrong. So those are the three flaws that I found in his thinking.
The only thing I would add there is in the second clause, I would say for me, I'm a speciesist, and I do have a preference for my own species. So I value their well-being over that of other species.
Why should Bundy respect that? I think is what he's saying. Why should he respect that?
Well, he doesn't have to.
Your value judgment.
Can I get in on this too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's not necessarily a common thing for people to take pleasure in killing other people or even animals. I mean, to some people, there's that's not pleasurable at all. He didn't have like one of the components that seemed to be missing in his psychological makeup is empathy. There's no empathy for animal or human. They were all just objects to be used, and his reasoning is based on, I think, that lack of empathy. And if you take that out, then what he's saying makes perfect sense. But that also makes you a bit of a monster, eh? But
yeah.
That's what's lacking. There's no sense that these are like me or anything else. Even though he makes comparison of other human beings and animals, he is above all of them, is the way that he sees himself. They're all for him.
Well, I think he just sees that if he can do it, then he ought to do it. And that's kind of, I think there's a disconnect there between the mentality that somebody is superior to another person, whereas he's saying, hey, we're all equal. But if I can do this to you, I ought to do this to you because it is my freedom, is my liberty. And that's where I think a lot of people who get desensitized to the experience of others have the same mentality on another level. They say, well, I'll tell you what you ought to do with your body, right? That's my right because my liberty, my freedom. So I can tell you based on my beliefs what you ought to do, right? And that's the imposition of will. It's not one's own freedom.
Right, but he's writing here about a justification, but not his motivation. Like a lot of what he's doing, and he hints at it in this a little bit about pleasures being taboos. And so part of what motivated Bundy was that he knew that he was far more intelligent than most people, and he liked the thrill of being.
Yeah, I mean, you can't say he knew that.
No, he was, and was well aware of his ability to manipulate people. And even his judge said that he would have made a tremendous attorney too, because he was just one of the smartest people. He knew how to work people. He knew how to work them over. But
I mean, I could say he might have been highly intelligent, but I don't think the ability to manipulate people is surely a proof of intelligence, of high intelligence.
Oh no, it's not.
It's
just a proof of psychopathy.
Right. So, but what I'm saying is, to him, it felt like he was superior, and he liked the idea that he could keep doing it, this taboo thing, and get away with it over and over. And that was a huge component of the pleasure for him. It was, I'm doing it, and you can't even stop me. I mean, I'm doing it, and and there was no other outside force to stop him either. Right? There was no. So this taboo is only in his mind something that we enforce on our own. There was no lightning.
So somehow we shifted, right? Because I said cannibalism, so I'll come to that, and then we go from we're talking about our relation to apes, and then we're talking about eating apes. We're talking about veganism, and now we're talking about cannibalism, right? You see how Watch
Well,
I
this.
no, Ted
wasn't.
Bundy.
I was talking about rape and murder.
No, he didn't eat that was Dahmer you're thinking of. Dahmer was the one eating black folks.
Well, I
He would.
mentioned
But
cannibalism, and you brought up Ted Bundy, so that's why I think I got the two kind of
no,
conflate there. But I'm just
well,
kind
no,
of
I
thinking
just
like,
brought
well,
this up.
because he compares humans to pigs, and you had kind of mentioned that earlier, so it seems to tie together.
Yeah, it does because he's saying that every creature is on the same level playing field as far as value is concerned. And I think from a purely uh, naturalist view, you would have to concede that that's the case. If you're just looking at it from mainly from just physical makeup, composition, DNA, everything is so similar. So, what basis do you have to reject Ted Bundy's claim here that there is no value judgments? Everyone's on the same level. If a pig kills a chicken, it's no different
Well, but
than
he,
a human
he
killing a chicken or a human killing another human.
acknowledges that his value judgment is subjective, so it is not an objective value judgment. It's merely subjective to him. Therefore, if everybody else, again, going back to consensus, if everybody else decides, no, your judgment is wrong, well, then, Bundy goes to prison and he gets the chair, which I think he did, or one of the other. I think it was California. He got chair or lethal injection. I don't remember which.
Yeah,
Right. So, I mean, we did decide that his judgment was incorrect. It was incomprehensible. So
right.
the fact that he has this testimony doesn't really state the position of society at large. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
I
think
know. I know.
I don't think anybody on the panel is going to assume that position and try to defend it.
Well, whether one society may have accepted him and his behavior. So just pointing to the fact that society is
Society
condemning
sentenced
him.
him to death.
This society sentenced him to death. But what I'm saying is that another society could exist, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, that would not put him to death, that would say what you did was good. So what he's saying is it just that the rights or what we call human rights, is it just the human rights? Is that the only thing that's stopping me? That there are human rights that were created by humans to protect humans? Is that the only thing that's stopping me? That's what he's
Well, I
asking.
don't. I could call PETA and ask them.
Well, I didn't mean to go off topic, but I just wanted to see what you thought about this. I mean,
Oh,
but
my
thanks for
personal thought. No,
yeah,
I think that if we're going to have the right to life, that should extend to all living creatures as far as it is practicable. Practicable.
right. Or until
Sorry.
you get hungry.
Uh, right. We're going to have to kill something to eat it on some level. There's no other way.
So let
So,
me ask you
and
this: let's say an invasion happens, and we've been listening and we've been watching the news. If you haven't been paying attention, there were claims from top government officials that there are aliens that exist. And this group of aliens decides that in order for them to survive, they have to colonize our planet. Would they be right or would they be wrong?
well, by colonizing, do you mean would they be like co-inhabiting our space with us? Would I be able to fuck alien women? I'm sorry, is that allowed? Would I be
No,
able to?
no. They kill you. They're like the praying mantis. They're like the praying mantis, all of them.
Gah!
Uh-oh.
No, that just
Now what?
you just gave me a visual that I'll never get rid of. Thank you.
They're all like the praying mantis. All their women are like the praying mantis, and their men are natural born killers. I mean, they'll chop your head off, and that's the way they survive, and that's the way they do. That's right in their culture. In their culture, that's right. So that's the whole point Bundy is making, is that without God, without him being the moral arbiter of right versus wrong, there is no way to stop a Ted Bundy. So you just better hope that you're in a country that has laws that, sort of correspond to scripture.
Well, see, that's why I like natural law, because according to natural law, if I catch Ted Bundy, I just get to fucking kill the guy, and I'm morally right. So that's fine by me.
And what does natural law say to do with him?
It says I could just kill him. I just off him on the spot. As soon as I catch him in the act,
Because
I just
he's a threat to
because
the
the threat.
society.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, Old Testament law is natural law, because that's what it would have happened to him. That's what would have happened to him. He wouldn't have just got he wouldn't have had a chance to write this letter. All right, so I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to shut it down now. Thanks everyone for joining.
Hey, thank you for having me, Jill. I appreciate it. And is it okay with you if I mirror this on my channel at some point in the future?
No, sure. Go right ahead. Yeah, I mean, it was fun. You can go right ahead and mirror, do what you need to do with it.
And I would like to say that sometime in the future, I haven't exactly decided when, I would like to do a study on Matthew 19. So if everybody wants to get ready for that, about Jesus talking about people who should become eunuchs.
Okay, I'm in for that one. I'm in for that one.
Are you going to do that now, Hillary?
No, not now, but eventually. Okay. I'm just saying.
Jill wants in. He's in.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm telling Jill, so he can get all his.
I'll bring him with me. He's my new mentor. I'll bring him with me.
Well, that's good to hear. You're in good hands.
Please don't tell me you're going to suggest that the eunuch there is a homosexual.
I am going to open it up and see where it leads, because everyone's going to bring their own research, and then we're going to see where it goes. But homosexual, no, I'm not. I don't believe that.
Or non-binary, or whatever.
Well, that's where we're. Yeah, that's kind of what my research is heading toward.
Oh gosh, here we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll be looking out for that. I'll be looking for that one. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. Next time I'm live, it'll probably be in about a couple of weeks. And if you want to take the challenge, any one of my challenges, please feel free to come in and take the Jill challenge. Take one of the challenges. You guys know my challenges. You guys have heard me give these challenges before. So if you guys want to join me, it'll probably be in a couple of weeks from today. I'm trying not to stream as much.
What is the Saudi challenge? I've not heard of that.
Well, the Saudi challenge, you all know what the contradictions in the Bible challenge is. That was my first stream when I first started YouTube. I started a stream and I said contradictions in the Bible, and it got like 700 views. It's like, oh, there's a lot of people that believe still that there are contradictions in the Bible. There are no contradictions in the Bible. And then the Saudi challenge is that's obviously not the word I want to say. I can't say it because I use the
child
word
marriage.
Saudi. No, I mean sodomite marriage. So I call it the Saudi.
Oh,
for sure.
Okay.
Oh, that is totally misleading. You got.
Yeah, I was thinking Saudi Arabia. I'm like, what?
So you have to try to get around the algorithm. The YouTube algorithm is watching us, especially.
What does that consist of? That
well, you have to tune in You have to tune in a couple of weeks, and
well, how do I know to prepare for the challenge if you don't tell me what the topic is? Thank you, Hillary. Yes.
Well, the challenge is in the description. So if you want to know what the challenge is,
I am not sodomizing you, dude, or anybody else. I am out.
No.
Read the description. The challenge is basically to find a doctor that will suggest publicly, licensed, that homosexuality is natural, normal, and healthy. That's the challenge.
Oh no.
And then the Voss Trump is a racist challenge.
Any evidence?
There's no way I'd take this one. No,
My
I'm
first
pro Trump.
video on modern day debate was against a man by the name of Vosh.
I
You know,
remember
and
that.
some people
I did. I
Yes.
watched that one. That was
Yeah,
Oh, I
fun.
gotta see that.
that was a classic. And I'll be playing clips from that also. And he claimed that the debate was, is Trump a racist? And he gave his reasons, and I just shot them all down. And then he
Mhm.
concluded that I was a black white supremacist. The same thing they before they called Larry Elder a black white supremacist, they called Jill a black white supremacist. And then my biblical slavery challenge, you all know what that is. Find biblical slavery in the Bible. And I'll leave
biblical
YouTube.
slavery.
If you can
Does
meet
that
any of
mean?
these challenges, I'll leave
Uh-huh.
YouTube.
Oh, but I wouldn't want you to do that.
No,
You
now
And
you just dude. No, you're
yeah.
not going
I was
anywhere.
kind of ready for the last one, depending on exactly what you mean. But
That's not a prize we want to win, homie.
no.
all right.
Come up with a
You
different
want that
prize.
No, that's surprise. Surprise is that I
Well, now
leave YouTube.
that's No, that's bullshit. You can't do that because now the people that are going to take it are people that enjoy your show and view your show. Otherwise, they wouldn't know about it. And
Right.
then they're like, "Well, know what I'm going to do if I do solve it." You're setting yourself up to filter out
What
people that
should the
can do it
challenge?
that like it.
What should the reward be? We'll let you make the reward. What should the
Like $25
punishment or the
Amazon gift card.
No, not
$2
money.
It's a gift card.
Not money.
40
Okay.
lashes. 40 lashes.
No,
Oh
what?
wow.
Why do you think we want you beaten?
Okay. If anyone can meet any of these challenges, what should the reward or what should my punishment be? If
You
not
have to.
leaving you.
You should have to
to
sit through
prostrate
a
yourself.
series of 3 Bible studies with Richard.
Oh, whoa. Okay. All right. Deal. If you can meet any of these challenges, I will
Did Richard
do.
even agree?
He didn't even
No.
agree to it. We can't just
Oh yeah,
sign
you
him up
can't.
for
Yeah,
it.
you can't do that. Yeah, you can't implicate Richard with. Yeah, you
We'll
can't. He's
figure it
gonna
out.
be a. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay, but for now, I'm leaving YouTube. If you can prove biblical slavery, prove Trump is a racist. Trump is not a racist. Stop that nonsense. Or the Saudi challenge, or any contradictions in the Bible. There are 0 contradictions in the Bible. 0. 0. Okay, thanks
Does it
everybody.
matter which version of the Bible?
Oh,
Doesn't
good
matter
question.
what.
Which version?
Which version of the Bible?
Yes,
version?
yes, it
It does.
does. Yeah.
Which one does it? It's got to be the 16 and 11, whatever 16, whatever King James.
No, you can't try to isolate one interpretation and say, or one, or yeah, you can't. No, I would say the Bible. Period. I would, but yeah, if you want to, if you have an like for instance, Easter is in the King James Bible. It's not a contradiction, but it shouldn't be there. Um, but no, I mean an actual contradiction. So what do you mean, like the translations? Is that what you're referring
Yeah,
to?
like between the KJV or the New English, or I've got the New World Translation now, so I'm trying. I guess it's Jehovah's Witness
Well,
Bible. I don't know if that's
I'll
significantly
yeah.
different.
Well, I'll explain what I mean by contradiction. Obviously, if you have 2 translations, that one dynamic and one that is word for word, it may appear like it's a contradiction. For instance, a dynamic translation would translate this sentence the same way or a different way. Sally is one of the coolest girls in the school.
Mhm.
A dynamic translation will translate it as Sally is very popular at her school, even though the word
Right.
popular is not found. A word for word would just translate it to where it would say Sally is cold.
Mhm.
She's the coldest, right? So that's not an error. It's just a word. It's a different way. It's a word for word translation. The dynamic translation would be what we would look to, or we would get a lexicon to find out what cold meant to someone living in the 80s as opposed to the 50s. So,
Mhm.
Okay, and
so
so
that,
what you mean is the direct contradiction in statements
yeah,
between 2 passages.
right.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
believe right. I'm saying like, okay, John says that Jesus died, or Jesus died at this time, and Matthew says no, Jesus didn't die at that time. He died at this time. That type of contradiction.
You know, Jill's
Does that
setting
make
people
sense?
up.
Of
Yeah.
course, you know I'm setting them up, all right, because they need to repent or die.
If you reject Christ, then the moment you take your first step through the gates of hell, the only thing you will hear is all of creation standing to its feet and applauding and praising God because God has rid the earth of you.
I take full responsibility for my going to hell